So when I grew up at the end of the Depression, I really had, 2.5 strikes against me. I was dyslexic, I didn't speak well, I didn't think I could learn anything. But lo and behold, I went on this journey. I started to develop myself physically. I was crazy about, just loved to exercise. I was into Olympic type weightlifting, not bodybuilding. That was never my thing. I never strived to be an enormous guy and that type of thing. To me, that was mostly, a lot of that was vanity and insecurity, and I didn't feel that way about that. But I was very heavy into athletics. We didn't have a lot of money those days. We had there was quite a bit of time. There weren't that many jobs available, and plus I was just a kid at the time, so everybody was into exercise. And the big thing in those days was boxing. A lot of poor people thought they could make $25, $30 by getting in a fight. There was fights all over the place. They had a fight on every street corner and every feast. Well, they used to have feasts. They put a ring up in the middle of the street, and they had all kinds of arenas where people fought. So people were into different types of training. So I went along that journey. I was into training. We were always doing something, and later on in life I got into running. But I found out by becoming interested in athletics and becoming interested in improving my athletic performance by improving my diet, it really opened up my mind, because I made some mistakes. In the process of being dedicated to my journey, I found out where my mistakes were. When I was eating a lot of animal protein to become big and strong, it took me a while to find out that really wasn't the answer, the journey that I wanted to go on, because I found out it did make you big and strong, but it really didn't make you healthy and create longevity. So as time went on, I continued did a tremendous amount of reading and research and tried to improve what I was doing. And in the process of doing that, to improve myself physically, to make my body as physically efficient as I possibly could, lo and behold, I found out that I was not only making my body more efficient, I was making my brain more efficient. I had much better insight into things. My consciousness opened up. I started to develop more consciousness. I was into, I did study, I did some studying and took a course on hypnosis, which I found out had a great deal to help me to improve some of the situations I was dealing with. I was into meditation, and I got into a lot of very heavy resistance work. I developed a way of training on my own, which I trained extremely, extremely heavy and very, very hard to exhaustion. Now, I don't recommend anybody try this unless they really have experience and know what they're doing. And I would train very heavy with low repetitions, very heavy weight. My basic premise was to make myself very strong without injuring myself, and I was successful at doing it. And I would train extremely hard, and then I would not train for a whole week. Give myself a week to recover my nerve energy, which worked very, very well. It made me very strong, especially for my body weight, which at that time was between 190 and 205 pounds. I got very, very strong. So in the process of developing my body, it also made me healthier mentally. It helped me with some of the issues I had since I was a kid, and it gave me more confidence to strive for higher ideals. Then I went through a period where I looked into supplementation by adding supplements into my diet and making blended, like what I thought were like super blends that I was making to make me stronger. And I found out as the years went on that really wasn't for me, and it really wasn't going to promote longevity. It was going to make you strong and stimulate you a lot and give you a lot of pump you up a lot, to a degree. And it took me about 10 or 15 years that I really didn't want to go in that direction. And then I came to the conclusion my focus in my life was not going to be so much on my physical, but was going to be more on my spiritual, develop myself as much as I possibly could mentally and emotionally and psychologically. And of course, when I went to school and studied nutrition, I realized that I wanted to take my own experience and some of the obstacles that I had to overcome. There was lots of people out there probably had similar obstacles, probably much more so than me, and I really wanted to try to be of some use to other people and develop, get into making it a career, although I had another career and I was doing both things at the same time. So I found out as I developed myself spiritually, that was probably the greatest thing that I ever attempted, because what I did is I studied different religions. I studied the Bible and I read the Quran and I studied Buddhism and just took a look at different religions and Hinduism. And what I decided to do was that there were 72 places in the Bible where it said to fast and pray and to develop a closer relationship with God. And I went on a couple of short 15-day water fast, not juice fast, water fast. And then I decided to try a long fast, and I wasn't sure how long I was going to go, but I ended up going 44 days. But I'm not saying anybody should try this unsupervised. If anybody wants to go on a water fast, it's very important they go to a fasting retreat and be supervised by a professional. But I knew what I wanted to do, and the way I did it is I didn't do anything. I just fasted, rested, kept my eyes closed as much as I possibly could and prayed. And it was the most enlightening thing that I have ever done in my whole life, because it changed the whole direction of my life and gave me a whole new insight of what I wanted to do with my life and what the possibilities were. Because by doing that, anybody that does something like that, your mind opens up and it gives you a much broader awareness of what's really going on in this what's going on in this human condition that that we call life. And this is my experience. I don't know if anybody else has ever had experiences like this. And then I did it a couple other times, and from that point on my life was totally different. I didn't think about eating a lot of food. I didn't have to eat a lot of food, and I really was into the raw food diet. And I realized that my experience showed, after a very difficult few years to get started, that this is the way for me, and this is the way I was going to go, and there was no other way for me. But